Hi guys, coming to you from the east of Norfolk, near Suffolk, near the sea. It's raining. It's you can really tell it's winter now. This morning there was sleet, and it's a cross between rain and snow. No, not sleet, of course that's what it is, but that was the forecast. Rain, snow, rain, snow. Oh my goodness. It is chilly, it's really cold, my hands are freezing. Okay, so sorry, I was just thinking, should I let that car go or not? I didn't, because if I let this car go, then the car behind might beat me. So I say, hey, what you doing? Hurry up! Yeah, so it's really cold here, and I was just I had a conversation with a lady here at the Morrison's. And there's a lady that I know, so I can talk about these things. And you know, we were talking about the battle of the sexes, men and women. You know, women tend to think it's all men's fault. Men are these evil guys, and obviously not all men. But when you get down to it, they do think that. You know, if you get them angry enough, you'll see where they're coming from. And if you get us angry enough, you know, triggered enough, you see where we're coming from as well. We tend to blame women. Men tend to blame women, and women tend to blame men, you know. Because she was saying, as a woman, I know what it's like for women. They've been treated badly by men. And sure, you know, as a man, there must be, of course there are men that are really bad. So I was talking to her about no fault divorce, which I assume means, you know, what it says on the tin, right? You divorce because you feel like it, not because like the man beat you or, you know, emotionally, verbally abused you, mentally abused you all the time, or went off with another lady, or another bloke or whatever. So not because of adultery, not because of abuse, physical abuse. It's because you had enough of that person, got bored of that person. And you know, I was saying to her, I saw some statistics that like 83% of women initiate divorce. Maybe that's in the States, or maybe that's in one age group or whatever, or one country, I don't know. But then I saw others, just to back up my claim, it's about 60% in the UK. So between 60 and 83%, that's high. You know, it's more than 50%. And so I was saying to her, without putting too much emotion into it, you know, I'm not angry or, oh my god, decides to do a 3-point turn on on a bend, and I'm saying sorry to him, well, why? On a bend on a busy road, kind of a blind bend, not really a blind bend, anyway. So we ended up not arguing, but I kind of got, because I'm coming off medication and I get triggered, so I'm really sensitive, quite fragile at the moment. You know, I'm just like a glass that cracks every time there's a bit of, you know, if it's cold weather, then suddenly put that glass into a warm room, it starts fracturing. I'm a bit like that. Well, anyway, I was saying, why do? Because I assume I know the answer. Why do women are more likely to commit adultery in their 40s because they want to get that youth back. They want to feel special again, and they're more likely, I think, to divorce because they're going through a menopause, 40s to 50s. They're not likely to divorce at 25, 30. It's when after they reach their 40s. And that kind of coincides with pre-menopause and menopause, which is no fault of hers, right? It's not her fault. But it surely isn't the bloke's fault. But it isn't the woman's fault as well. It's something that happens to her. So I'm kind of sticking up. I was kind of sticking up for women. I was saying, yeah, it's not a woman's fault. But I'm not blaming women. I'm blaming the system. I'm blaming the government, the laws, the people that created these laws that made it super easy for a woman to divorce. A woman, all she has to do is, I don't like the smell of his ass, and then can divorce a man. She could take it for years and years, but now I just can't take it anymore. I got 2-3 kids, 75% of your house. The house that your parents slaved for example. I'm not saying my ex-wife is doing that. I'm not saying that. I still don't know. So I pray she's not. But we came to an agreement a long time ago how much I would get and how much she would get. And I think she'll keep her word. But she's got friends of hers, she tells me. She didn't tell me who. Friends of hers that advise her, you should go for like 70-80% or whatever. Try and get as much as you can. You see, you get these, I have to say, bitches, because they're not looking out for you. They're not looking out for these children, because they think a man is like bloody disposable. These people that advise your, if you're a bloke, advise you will get women that are advising your wife or your partner, advising her to take as much money as, like, if you want 50% is too little, go for 70%, 75, 80%. Try and get as much as you can. You deserve it. Like, if it, and I was thinking, hang on, like, my wife, right? I'm not saying anything bad about my wife. She's, like, for me, it didn't work out, okay? But in general, she's a good person. She's okay. She's not an evil person or anything. She's young. She's in her 40s. I'm almost 60, right? So imagine, because the courts, the family court, will favour always the woman. Always will favour the woman, because the woman, I don't know, it's sexism basically. Will always favour the woman, and will favour the woman especially if there are a few kids. So, like, for me, like, my son, I want my son to stay with me if she doesn't contest it, and I think she does want to, let me have my son. But, I'm quite flexible. I don't want my son not to see his mum. I'm flexible. Whenever he wants to see his mum, that's his mum, I know how much I love my mum. So I would never keep my son from her mother. Never. Fuck me. Sorry, so much traffic. It's so hot in here now. Sorry, steaming up here. So, but I think about it, I haven't worked in so many years. For 35 years I've been on medication, and there's no route for me for work. You know, I've got ADHD. Well, now I know. I've had the assessment and I've passed, you know, with flying colours, yeah. So I've got ADHD. I've been taking medication for anxiety and depression for 35 years. It's really about 33 years. It's really hard coming off. And so, like she's young. She can still work, and she pays her bills. She doesn't have a problem paying her bills or anything like that, or speaking to people. So imagine you just took 75% of the man, and you gave it to a woman who is able, physically and mentally able to work. And like, you're punishing a man who's already been punished by nature, already has problems. It's just not fair. So I was thinking, yeah. And you see, this is the problem. When people who've got mental health problems who won't fight because they can't handle the stress. Like, you won't fight for your rights because you can't handle any stress. So, for example, if I was to say, look, I can't really work, right? So it's not really fair. You know, if I went to the family court and I said, you know, it's not really fair that you take so much away from me when obviously I'm not physically and mentally able to work. I haven't worked in decades. I'm on medication. I've got ADHD. She doesn't have any of those problems. You know, so I hate these these other women that give like your partner advice. They're demons, absolute demons, you know. Instead of saying like, why don't you get together with your husband, just try and give it a go. Why don't you go to, I was going to say citizens advice, you know, go to a marriage council. No, they're evil. Maybe I don't know, maybe they were divorced themselves. So I don't know, I don't care about them. I don't even know who they are. Might not be anybody, might be the internet. I did actually try, you know, to go to marriage council. I suggested it, but the answer was no. Multiple occasions I suggested it. Yeah, so anyway, the conversation I was having with the lady was, she was saying, well, maybe they divorced because the husband's treating them really bad. You know, like when women get older, they don't look so sexy, they don't look so nice, they put on a bit of weight, and maybe men complain. They might say, oh, you've got a bit fat, a bit overweight, you know, you don't look after yourself. Because she was saying, because basically that woman has had his kids. Well, she's had her kids and his kids, their kids, right? But the way she said it is like obviously defensive because you know, you get triggered, don't you? Each side gets triggered and they fight from their corner, right? That's understandable. I do understand that because I got triggered and I thought, hang on. So I kind of didn't let her finish. I kept butting in and I said, okay, all right, sorry. She got angry and I said, sorry, okay, all right. Yeah. Because what I wanted to say was everything that she was saying, I could reply from, you know, from the man's side. So, and this is the way I'd reply. Men. So she was saying that, yeah, no wonder if men always complain that the woman is, you know, is overweight or doesn't look as pretty or is aging, and then a woman might look for another man to get her, to get acknowledgement and love and stuff like that, you know. And so I said, okay, when they got married, when these two got married, right? And no, I said, okay, I admit, men might do that. Okay, not every man, but okay, men might do that. It's reasonable to say that. Okay, what do men want? When a man chooses a woman, usually he chooses a woman because she's pretty, she's beautiful, or she looks attractive. That's what men look for, whether it's silly or not. That's what the attraction is. The attraction is for a man. The pull is that a woman should be pretty, should be nice looking. That's the way it's always been, and that's the way it's always going to be. Right. When a woman looks for a man, it's this. It's finances. It's security. She doesn't look for a handsome bloke. And she was saying, no, women look for handsome men. They don't want to go with an ugly man. I said, yeah, okay, fair enough, up to a certain point. But this is what she wants. She needs security. And I said, there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with a woman wanting security. Because she can't shack up with a guy who's got no money, who's not going to be able to provide or help, look after future offspring. It's part of nature, right? So a woman looks for security, and so just as her looks go down, his ability to provide also can go down, because he gets older. He can't work the hours that he used to before. He can't do the overtime or whatever, and money gets sucked up. He's not earning the same as he used to. So she could be complaining and saying, love, that Luigi down the road, Italian, if it's Italian woman, that Luigi down the road, you're bringing him more money than you, Gero, or whatever. No, but not that I wouldn't be married with an Italian woman. Bloody hell, they're fiery, they're spicy, just like chili. Yeah, so I was just saying to her, yeah, this is what I was saying. I was saying the same can happen for a man. Okay, so you're saying that the woman might get pissed off because she's aging and she's getting fatter or whatever, aging looks, and the man might complain. Yeah, because the reason that he shacked up with this woman is because of her attractiveness, and then she's going to lose that attractiveness. Of course, it's normal, right? But he, on the other hand, also will lose his attractiveness. This here. So this is what I was saying. As he starts to lose his attractiveness, she bails out, because she can see where this is going. They're going to get poorer and poorer and poorer because he can't bring in the money that he used to in the past. And you've got expenses, you've got this and that. So both parties are getting a kind of raw deal because of aging, because of time. Her looks go down and his money goes down. But there's only one who's going to bail out. The woman bails out, because she will bail out and monkey branch onto another man. Whereas men, yeah, of course, the men can do it as well, but it's more, I was saying to her, it's more likely that a woman will monkey branch. The monkey bars. Each bar is a man. So when you're not happy with that one, let go, and then you go on to this one. Unfortunately, that's the way it is. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't see it emotionally, I see it logically. A woman will monkey branch to a higher branch. She won't go lower, she'll go higher. And higher could just mean a person who can sustain so she can sustain the lifestyle that she had before. No woman wants to go down. Well, no person wants to go down. So the thing is, what I was trying to say is, both parties, men and women, kind of get, as time goes by, get a raw deal. They A woman becomes less attractive, but so does a man. That's not the point. The point I'm trying to make is, okay, all right, let's go there then. Let's go with this equality bullshit. So what my friend and the Morrisons was saying is, as soon as I said her looks go down, so this is what a man looks for, and she's saying a woman also goes for looks. His looks go down. His big fat belly comes up. He gets bald. He gets wrinkles. Okay, let's go there. Right. So they have a certain... he's handsome when he's younger, let's say, and she is beautiful, and both their looks go down, okay? So they both bring this into the relationship. That's what she's trying to say, and his looks go down as well as hers. Now let's think about finances. He usually brings more money into the relationship, so her money goes down. It doesn't matter if her money goes down, because she comes in with, you know, with not much money anyway. So you see how uneven it is. So if you want to make things even, how much money did she bring into the relationship? You see what I mean? Her looks go down. Oh yeah, but his looks go down as well. Yeah, he brought this amount of money. How much did she bring? You see how uneven it is? So when it comes to divorce, she is the one most likely to divorce, because she has a poor mentality. She thinks that, you know, oh, I'm going to lose this money. You know, this money's dwindling down. He's getting older. Divorce is a good thing, because I get 75%, 70%, 60% or whatever. And, you know, I could cut my losses and keep this standard of living. If I stay with him, we're both going to get older. We're going to be poorer and poorer and poorer. This guy's got no future, you know. He's going to be a deadbeat human being or whatever. Unfortunately, I think this is how women think. And so I didn't have an argument. It's just a good conversation with the lady. And you can see that she's fighting from her corner. And she was saying, you know, I was saying that, yeah, there's some men that are bad. I agree. But statistics tell you that most women initiate divorce. And I guarantee statistics will say that when a man and woman get into a relationship, it's the man that has the most money. Not all the time. You know, you hear people say, well, I came into the relationship with my husband with the same money and more than him. Yeah, that's you. But more than likely, why more than likely? Because it's set up that way. It's set up that way. A woman will marry up. You know, she won't marry someone who looks more handsome than or more beautiful than her. She'll marry someone who's got more of this. She's not likely to marry someone lower down. And again, you're going to get people, oh yeah, with this example, okay, well, you know, I'm generalizing. You have, you know, the example I gave is, look, if I went and I saw a lady in McDonald's, a nice, pretty young girl, you know, in a 20, 25, 30 or whatever, you know, a man, he would go for that woman, regardless of what shitty job she has, because he's not going for money. He's going for a pretty face. And biology, you know, a woman in her fertile period of life, that's what a man wants from a woman. You know, subconsciously, consciously, that's what he wants. He wants a hot a hot woman, you know, with a nice you know, nice body and everything. You know, it might sound silly, but it's not. He needs some firm statistics, you know, firm stats, whatever they are. But that's what a man wants. You know, he doesn't care about the money. Oh, I'm a professor. The man doesn't fucking care if you're a professor, if you're earning this kind of money. He doesn't care. All he cares about is that thing. Well, the whole thing, the whole package. You know, if you're beautiful, if you're nice, obviously if you're kind, if you're you know, a good wife, could be a good wife, a good mother, you know. So he's also thinking about future offspring, you know. Are you capable to carry a child? You know, if you're skiddy and sick, or like a boat, you know, unfortunately, our brains are wired not for political correctness, but they're wired to evolve, for the race to evolve. And so you want a young, healthy, pretty woman, you know. And what constitutes pretty or beautiful? It's the symmetry of the face, of the body, you know. That's what a man wants. So I said to her, if you switch this round, and if there was a man, a handsome man, working in the Sainsbury's or McDonald's, and you're a woman roughly the same age, slightly younger, you might fall in love with him, but maybe to shag, you wouldn't want to get married to someone who can't make enough money to pay for the rent for. He might be able to pay for the rent for himself and a little cat or dog or whatever. But you know, when you get pregnant, you can't work, and you can't work because you have to look after the kids for a few years. So you need that stability. You need money. So I can understand how women are wired, but she was saying no. A woman can, you know, a woman can fall in love with a man who works in McDonald's, and they can make a go of it. Bollocks. Yeah, that's what you think. That's what people think in all these like romance novels. But in reality, that handsome Spanish waiter who can't even make enough to make ends meet for himself, you're not going to choose that person as a viable partner, a husband, because he doesn't have access to this. Because he can't. He can just about fend for himself, but he can't provide for future offspring. So that makes sense. But she was like, obviously her emotions got in the way, and she thought, okay, it has to be equal. No, it's not equal. In fact, what I said is equal. Both sides have their wants. Men want a beautiful woman, right? And women want finances or security. So this is why women at a certain age are more likely to divorce, because money goes down. You know, in my case, like when I met my wife, I was in China. I didn't have loads of money, but I was a millionaire in assets only. But then we had an apartment in Beijing. Money started to dwindle down, but it's good days, isn't it? It's good times. You know, you've got money there, you know, and money that I made, but also most of it is my parents' money. You know, I lived with my parents, and you know, they made some business, and I helped them. So it was, of course, it's partly mine, but yeah, that's how I kind of squandered my money and my parents' money with a woman. You know, and I'm not saying anything wrong about my wife here, or my ex-wife, because I think it would have happened with almost any woman. You know, as soon as a woman sees this, her eyes light up. The dollar signs, the pound signs, her eyes light up. And I'm not saying that she's evil. She can't help it. She just can't help it. It's wired into her. So this is what I was trying to say to my friend. And, you know, people get triggered. She couldn't have it. She didn't have it. And I was making allowances. I was saying, in some cases, women, like, if somebody beats up the woman, the husband fucking beats her up or abuses her, I was going to say spiritually, mentally, emotionally, or goes off with other women all the time, you know, goes out gambling and is into drugs or crime. There are some reasons that you might want to get away for your own safety, right? But now there's the no fault divorce. It's just one day you wake up, I don't feel like it. I don't feel like smelling his shit every day. I'm fucking pissed off now. When he has to smell her fucking shit for years. You know, I mean, woman can think up. You don't have to have any reason at all. You don't even have to have that reason. The reason could be, and as I said, what did I say? Menopause. At the age of about 40, 45, 50, menopause kicks in, and women, depending on what other comorbidities, the other cofactors or whatever, other problems they have, if they've got autoimmune problems, if they've got depression, underlying depression or anxiety, ADHD, whatever, if they've got other problems, then you stack menopause on top of it, and her whole character can start to collapse and make rash decisions, really bad, like irrational decisions, and she believes that she's not wrong, she's right, and you're always wrong. And that's what happens it can happen in a marriage, after like menopause comes along. Suddenly you become omnipotent, like a god. You have a man have so much power. Like, if there's a flu bug going around, it's your fault. You gave it to the family. If it's your fault, it's always your fault. So you've got so much power suddenly. I found that with myself. I'm talking from experience. Suddenly I've got so much power, and others have no power, so everything is I'm to blame for everything, almost everything. Because if the woman looks down on you because they see, hypothetically, or even in my case, a person who's getting older, money's dwindling, his earning potential was 0, and now it's the same. But the problem is the money that we had is going down, going down, going down, going down. And so the woman bails out. For me, it's a logical thing. I understand it. But, women love to think that, well, I love the person. Well, love isn't enough. I say that men are more loving than women, because they will get married to a woman that they love, and they will stick with that woman because of love. Women, on the other hand, will calculate how much money this man has. At the end of the day, if this man then starts getting sick and she thinks, oh shit, I'm going to have to look after him, I'm going to have to pay the bills, logically, as a man, I'd think, oh, okay, well, this is logical, okay? But you would have thought, this is a man thinking in a logical way. No, that's how a woman thinks. This is how a woman thinks. All the love goes out of the window when there's no advantage for her. There's no profit for her anymore. When I see these young guys with these young girls, I think, yeah, you're with him because, he's young and, you aim to profit from him, whether subconsciously, consciously, or whatever. But if that bloke, there are some women, like, if the person was sick, he broke a leg or whatever, he was a bit disabled, crippled or whatever, she would still love him. But there needs to be more. I'm not saying this. It's just the way it is. But women tend to think that there's some, like, kind of, as I say, angelic being that they're fueled and function just with love, No, they don't. They're more material than men. They are more material than men. I guarantee. Not guarantee. It's evident. It's just evident how material they are. So, I was having this discussion and it was leading nowhere. And so I thought, okay, I better be the man and not be emotional, and try to relax a little bit, because coming off medication, I tend to get heated, and then I realize I'm getting heated, so I think, oh, okay, I shouldn't, and you have to back down, because the other person obviously fights from their corner. A woman will say, well, men, what about men? And she's gonna recall all the boyfriends she's had, or the men she has had, or, you know, talking to her other friends, how terrible those men have been. But, you know, she actually did say something like that. You know, I've spoken to lots of women, lots of friends, and they've told me how bad men were. And I said, yeah, you got one side of the story. They probably spoke to their male friends and told them how bad that woman is. So you have to have two sides of the story. You can't just listen to one person. You know, she could have been really bad to that man and then told you how evil he was. You know, guaranteed there's, like, I was saying to her, like, you can have a wife that finds a young or older, a new partner, and says, my husband's so terrible, I hate him, you know, and then this bloke ends up bloody killing the husband because he thinks he's such an evil bastard when he isn't. She's just exaggerating, you know. When this guy was okay, it was like, not okay, normal, good, bad, you know, normal guy. So, you know, anyway, the discussion I had with her was interesting, and I thought, yeah, we tend to see things from our point of view. I think the reality is more of a rounded, you know, the way I think, like, all women, I'm not stupid, I don't think that all women want money. I reckon the majority of women do want money. And you know that by the amount of women that initiate divorce. And just think about it. How many, as a percentage, how many of those women that came into that come into any marriage, 100 couples, okay? How many of those women came into the marriage and brought to the table more money than the man? It's probably a few. It's not a lot. You'll have the odd one, because that's the system. That's the way it's supposed to be. Man is supposed to have money. Man is supposed to look after the woman. Even though we live in these times of equality, you can guarantee that if there's a woman making 100 grand, she's not going to go with a man that's making 30 grand in the supermarket. She's going to want to go. They always climb up. They have to look up. They need that that crimple thing in their neck. They have to have that pain. They have to look up. They can't look down. They always marry up, don't they? Okay, most of the time they marry up, because some women are gonna say, well, it's not always like that. Yeah, of course it's not. For everything is not always like that. Nothing is 100%. But I'm saying women will marry up. And if that's not a person, a human being who's interested in material things, what is? Remember the song, that famous philosopher, who was it? Gwen Guthrie. Ain't nothing going on but the rent. You got to have a J-O-B if you want to be with me. No romance with some finance. That's a great song. Boy, you look good to me. Your silky words are sweet, but your pocket sure look empty. Nothing for nothing leads to nothing. You got to have something if you want to be with me. Oh, life is too serious, love. Too mysterious. Fly girl like me needs security. Ain't nothing going on but the rent. You could just about pay for the rent, but you can't pay for anything else. So, so basically men have to qualify. The way they qualify is this. Of course, they have to be healthy. They have to have other attributes. A woman just has to be beautiful. She has to be pretty. And what if she's not pretty? Most women are pretty. I mean, if she's not pretty, she makes up for it for, being kind, being honest, being a nice person. That's also attractive. You could be nice physically, but also, you know, mentally a nice person, a kind person, or you basically hide until you get married, and then she takes away sex. After a few years, she takes away sex, and then you realize you've been trapped. You've been caught. Yeah. It's always been like this, you know. Women always catch men, they trap them, and then they can't get out. How can they get out? If they get divorced, they lose half their shit. Or 75% if they've got kids. So, yeah, I had that's an interesting discussion I had with this lady. And it's funny, you know, how men and women, they fight from their side. And I understand that completely. Like, she's fighting from her side of the ring, you know, her corner. And I try to understand. I think, okay, yeah, you're right. Some men are like that. You know, so when she gave me the argument that, you know, men complain about women, and that's why, you know, she would maybe get fed up and divorce, or fed up and commit adultery, you know, think about it. And I said no, because my statement was that I'm not even saying it's a woman's fault, but it comes from the woman, from no fault of her own, but because of her menstrual period stop. What is it called? Menopause, premenopause, and menopause. It causes women to go berserk. No, not berserk, but you know, I'm not saying it's their fault. How can it be their fault? This is a Sicilian way of talking like this. How can it be their fault? It can't be their fault. But a man ends up paying. It's definitely not his fault, is it? It's not his biology that's changing. You know, and if you go to a woman and say, well, love, I think you're going through perimenopause or menopause. Let's go to the doctor. You're the one who's crazy, not me. Fuck, how dare you? Like, let's go to a marriage counsellor and let's try and sort this out. I don't need a marriage counsellor. You need it. You think I'm crazy like you? That's what they're like. Because when they're in that whirlwind, that rage, you can't do anything. And one guy was saying online, he was, I remember watching the video, he was saying that he says that his wife, he reckons that his wife, 5 or 10 years, 12 years or whatever down the line, she'll realize that I wasn't that bad. But then it's too late. You can't patch things up. And even if you do, it won't be the same. He would have already, you know, moved on. But I'm thinking, you know, why would I move onto another woman for more shit like this? Because I know I'm quite negative, but I think I can't do this all over again. I just can't do it. I had one disaster of a relationship, and in London with a Guyanese woman, my ex, sorry, and had a child. The child hates me. She doesn't contact me anymore because obviously her mind, you know, she was brainwashed against, you know, against me. So that's how it ends up. And now I try to do it the proper way, get married, and because I've lived with my kids, most of them won't get, hopefully they won't get brainwashed against me, but it ends up in disaster. So, like, it's taken like that relationship 20, the other relationship, you know, another 10 years or whatever, like 30 years of your life. And stress, the amount of stress and anxiety I had in all that time, you know, not all that time, but, you know, when you argue, the last few years gets terrible. Divorce itself is terrible. It's very stressful. I think it's more stressful for a man, much more stressful for a man, because the man doesn't initiate it. The man doesn't know what's coming. He gets hit in the back of the head with a sledgehammer and thinks, what the fuck happened? You don't know what's going to happen. And then you think, why didn't I see it? Why didn't I see this coming? I'm an idiot. And you think that person planned it all along. Not all along, but for the last few years. has been getting advice and stuff, and you're playing catch up, but you're like an idiot, like a zombie. You can't believe it's happening. By the time that you've digested everything, divorce is over, financial settlement is over, and you're on your own, and you think, what the fuck happened? What the fuck happened to me in my life? And then people say, go and get laid, find another woman. You're fucking crazy. I'd rather have a doll. One of those AI dolls. No, I'd rather tie a knot in it and just, you lose trust for all women. I trust women as friends, as my relatives. I love them. Like my daughters, I love them, but not in a romantic sense. You don't trust a woman in a romantic sense. You think, what does that woman want? Not that I have anything anymore. I'll be half the man or 3/4 of the man that I used to be financially. So there's nothing there for a woman to... I'm not a good catch, as I keep saying. So, you see me all nice and talking like this, but now I'm going to go home and I need to rest for a few hours because I've been speaking for 45 minutes and I'll be totally exhausted. Totally. But as long as I've entertained you guys and I make some money from this YouTube thing, who knows? I'll be the first rambling millionaire on YouTube. What would I do with my millions? I'd give it back to you guys. I don't know. I'd send all you guys a check. I don't know, 10 grand at least each for helping me. I would do that. I think I've got a big heart. I am quite mean. There's a Jewish guy. He's not really a friend, but I know him, and he said he was saying, I was saying, yeah, I'm really mean sometimes. I'm just like you guys. He said, no, we're frugal. You're mean. Thing is, I couldn't say what I wanted to say to him. I said to him, yeah, you know what I mean. I'm a J. No, but he said to me, no, you're not mean. He's thing that, with Jews and Italians, we have something in common. We love our mums. We're really, really close to our mothers. Like Jewish men, they're really close to their mother. And I can relate to that. There's one thing I can relate with Jewish guys. At least one thing. Other things as well. We really love our mums. But I think I've got a big heart, Naturally, I have a big heart. So I think I'm worried. If I get money, I'll give it to loads of people. I'll have nothing. So I have to be careful. Yeah, but you guys deserve it for listening to me. Yeah, I'd like to do something like that. There's a thank you. That's when I get my first 1 million subscribers. I've got 7,000, but my subscribers keep dwindling down. I think that's YouTube recalibrating itself, depending on the topics I talk about. Every time I use the F-bomb, that's about 10 subscribers going down. So I have to be a bit careful, what I say. Anyway, guys, if any of this has resonated with you, share, like, subscribe, of course. Write a comment down below, and I won't be answering. You can guys talk to each other because I have to think of another video to make. So I'll keep pumping these videos out as long as I'm full of it. And believe me, I'm full of it. Alright, speak to you guys later. Spiral up. I don't know what that means. I'll let you know on another date. Hope to make those toy videos soon, and then you can see what the hell I'm talking about. Alright, bye. Take care. keep warm in this bloody weather. And see you guys in another video. Bye.